Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Hope Akedika show. You're joining me, myself. My name is Hope, and thank you for joining me today. If it's your first time watching the episode, I welcome you to the family. Here we talk about everything. We leave no rocks unturned. We talk all things personal and politics. And of course, it was Valentine's Day week. I'm sure people are still in that spirit of Valentine's Day because maybe not everybody got to celebrate on the Tuesday and they're planning on celebrating the coming weekend. So if you have any plans with your loved ones, shout out to you, shout out to the love. And honestly, it was a good one. It was a good one. I'm not gonna lie. I did have one of those years where I probably made the video that's making y'all cringe and making you think, ugh, take your love somewhere else, keep it to yourself. But no, honestly, no, it was a good one, and I hope you guys had a good one too. Whether it was a galentine, a brolantine, because girls, we are not the only ones who want love and affection. The guys can show each other love. I'm sure, the bro them, they probably. I saw the chunks and all of them lot. They're probably working in it, but they're in Paris, and Paris is a city of love. So I'm guessing, the guys are feeling the bromance this year as well. So, yeah, amazing, amazing Valentine's Day week. And I hope you guys can say the same too, whether you got to celebrate or not. I hope overall your week has been good. Guys, I have a very, very interesting subject matter I want to speak about today. And this one is dear and personal to me. And I genuinely believe that the community, the Christian community, is far too quiet for my liking on this one. Like, the Church of England has announced that they're debating banning, there's a debate to ban calling God he or referring to God as he after the push for gender neutral pronouns. And of course, God, the God of Christianity, the God of all the Abrahamic religions, right? He's a deity, he's divine, and essentially he is not a man. So therefore, we know that he's not a man. Physically, we know. I mean, but as a Christian, we believe in the three Godhead, right? So the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, all one, all connected. And I feel like referring to God, from what I've read anyway, is something that came into play as Christianity was forming, linking directly back to that time period of Abraham. And this is how the Bible has been written. The Bible has been rewritten, and the King James Version was like probably one of the first English translations. Prior to that, there's many arguments that argue that the Ethiopian Bible theology is the closest to the original, and it contains certain books that are not found in the more widespread Bible that we see now day to day, especially the King James Version, the New Living Translation, which has come as a result of the King James Version. Anyway, my point is, personally, we know God is not a man. We know that he does not, well, in Christianity anyway, he does not, have the male genitalia, right? So why are we even talking about this, guys? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Like, how do we feel about this? Because this is the whole Bible that is going to get rewritten as a result of if this actually happens, because they're saying ban, meaning we will not be allowed to refer to God as he. So this is not going to be an optional thing if it is to go through, right? And I hope that people understand this, because like I said, why is the Christian community quiet? Why are we so nonchalant about these things? Like, this is my one problem that I have with the Christian community, right? Like, we just let things slide. We're bystanders. We let ourselves get put in these uncomfortable situations. And this is one of the comments I heard in a debate on the Piers Morgan show, right? And one of the guys, his argument was basically that the Bible, right, is a book about right or wrongs, right, and people live by it, their ethics, the decisions that they make. A lot of people who do want to follow the Bible make the decisions based off the Bible, and there are many Christians who know what the Bible says, and we'll still act outside of that nature because we are human at the end of the day, and we fall short of the grace, right, guys? So it happens. And that does not mean we start changing the Bible to suit the way of life of the people in the time and era, just like adjusting to the people of that period. Because in the next couple of years, once the gender neutral community is no longer the trending or the main topic, what are we going to do then? Are we going to rewrite the whole Bible again to cater to people who don't even necessarily believe in the Bible or even want to follow it as a way of life? I mean, genuinely, these are questions that we should be asking ourselves as Christians. And this debate will be going live and decision will be made in spring, this year. So not even long from now, think around Easter time, thinking that this can become a very prominent thing in the Christian world. And again, like I said, it's not being spoken about enough. There's not enough light being shown on this matter, guys. This is our whole way of life I'm talking about. Like, maybe I'm not in the conversations where this is happening. If these conversations are happening somewhere, guys, let me know. Connect me to these conversations because I need to understand what is actually going on. So let me know. I genuinely feel like even whether you agree with it or not, I just need to understand that this is not just a decision being made in high places like the Church of England, the bishops and the reverends, and actual people, everyday people, communities, churches are aware of what's going on. First and foremost is the awareness that I'm worried about, that I want to know if there's enough light being shone on the matter. And if there is enough awareness and people are happy to go along with this change and concept, then again, I would like to understand the whys and the consequences of what if we do go through with something like this. Like, I'm just shook, honestly. I don't know, guys. If there's anybody watching the live right now, please get involved in the discussion in the comment section. I really want to know your thoughts on this matter. It's very much something I'm still digesting and working on. Personally, I don't even want it to become a reality. So please comment in the chat and do share the live so others can get involved in the discussion right now, guys. I really, 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 really need discussion to take place and be taken seriously. It's not enough just to share the video and send it to your friend. Oh, did you hear what they're discussing on the Piers Morgan show? We're going to have a gender neutral God. As a Christian, what is your say on the matter? Because this is the problem we have even with politics. People feel like, oh, what's the point in voting when everything is already decided? And yes, it's hard to feel like you have no control in the situations. But when you have been given the platform and the avenue to do that and contribute your thoughts on the matter, it matters. The more people come forward, the easier this conversation will be, and something won't just be decided on behalf of the majority, but the majority will be involved in the discussion as it's taking place, as it's happening. And this thing is not just going to happen to us, but it will happen as a result of us being involved in the discussion. So guys, let me know. I'm waiting for your thoughts on this one. And yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one because, again, we're talking about people's beliefs here. We're talking about our faith, how we've referred to God, how we've been able to connect with Him, and even the prayer, simple as Our Father who art in heaven, things like that would have to change. So guys, I am not laughing as a result of this. I am laughing because someone's making me laugh in the background. But honestly, it's absurd. But it just comes to show you that people don't have all the answers in the world. They don't have all the answers. They're just trying to figure it out. You know, there's not somebody sat somewhere in one room who has all the answers, the right and wrongs of this world. People are just making decisions. They wake up one day, your prime minister can wake up in a bad mood and start a World War III, or they wake up the next day and think, you know what, that was a bad decision. I shouldn't have done that. So, guys, stop relying on other human beings to make decisions on your behalf and become active decision makers as well in your own personal lives. Like, there's certain things that should have never happened, but because people stayed quiet, they happened. Because people were like, oh, we gave them the information, they didn't take it in, they didn't respond, they didn't say anything. All right, let's go ahead with it, let's do it. And that is one thing that I feel like as a generation, as a society, we really, really lacking. Like, our ancestors fought with their life, like they put their lifeline on the line, like, and we don't have to do that anymore, right? We don't necessarily have to do that anymore. There are parts of the world where that is not even an option, but we live in the freedom and the luxury of this beautiful world as a result of something, of a fight that women took up, men took up, for us to live a certain comfortable life. And we just hand it away. We just throw it away. We throw our freedom away. We throw our freedom of speech away. We're too scared to say anything because of the cancel culture. Like, who are these people canceling each other on the internet anyway? And people get cancelled all the time. Like, they were ready to cancel Rihanna, but what were they doing? Now nobody can get Rihanna out of their head because of the Super Bowl. So if you allow this sheepish mentality to dictate your life and your lifestyle, then you are not living a life. You are not living an authentic life. You are living in fear, and you are living based on what the majority are doing. And it's absolutely not right. And I really, really hope that here on our platform we can cultivate an individual mindset, like be able to think for ourselves, be able to decide that this is right, this is wrong, and this is what feels right in my heart. This doesn't feel right, so I'm not just going to go with it. Because it's just like when COVID came and people were torn between getting a vaccine and not getting a vaccine, and same thing, a lot of people did it feeling out of obligation. Oh, everyone is doing it, so let me just do it. But did you do it because you wanted to? How did you feel walking away from that afterwards? You know, it's just little things like that. Giving a piece of yourself away to a government, to an organization, to a, a social group for a moment, because they are the ones making the loudest noise in the media at the time. And that is no way to live, guys. It's no way to live. And another thing as well that is being discussed, and this is actually in Parliament, is assisted dying, assisted suicide. I don't know if you guys have heard of this term or been exposed to it. Other people may know it as euthanasia. I actually studied this in ethics and philosophy in my A levels, and I really, really enjoyed the discussions that came from my ethics and philosophy classes. Actually, it was one of the most interesting subjects I've ever done in the education curriculum, mostly because it's actually based on life and experiences, and the kind of, it affects our day-to-day life, the kind of decisions, just making small decisions from, do I eat that? Do I drink that? Is that healthy for me? You know, just ethical decisions that we have to deal with every day. And obviously this is not a small one, it's a very, very big one. And assisted dying, as it's being referred to, is legal in some countries, but here in the UK it is not. But it has been a discussion in Parliament for years on end. It's always come up. And for many, many years, Parliament was very clear that they were not ever going to turn in favour for it. The argument was always against it, even when there were case studies of certain people who, you know, experienced, there's a lady, Diana Pretty, she was actually one of the case studies, and Diana Pretty was suffering from motor neuron disease and wanted to die. Her and her husband petitioned the court to give immunity for persecution to her husband. However, I don't believe that she got it eventually in the end. she did die as a result of her illness. And guys, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Like, the reason the UK has held back on assisted dying, euthanasia, voluntary, non-voluntary, however you want to look at it, is because it's a slippery slope. And with things like this, if something like that is allowed to happen, it's gonna there's gonna be there has to be a tight rope around it. It has to be very, very carefully monitored situation, because you fall into those, there's the ones who slip through the crack, the ones who might get forced into it, like, oh, your quality of health is so poor anyway. Do why bother living? Essentially, it's not a nice way to think. It's not a nice way to live, because there are some people who have fought cancer 4 times and have beat it. And if they were introduced to the concept of assisted suicide the first time around cancer hit them, and they agreed to it, they wouldn't even have known that in the future they would have beat that cancer 3, 4 times over. And like I said, this is why it's such a hard discussion. It's not black and white. It's very hard, because there are people who genuinely suffer. But there's one case now that I personally, I'm just like, yeah, no. And that's based on people being able to request this in Canada because of their mental health. Imagine a young person, I believe, went to doctors and requested for assisted dying, right? And that was because they suffer from depression and other mental health illnesses, right? And it's not fair, because the family had no say in the matter. And imagine, as a parent, your child going to the court or going to the doctors, and you have no legal obligation or right or say in their decision, because they are of age, they are of legal age. And how can somebody who essentially might not be 100% okay mentally be in a state to make such a decision anyway? So it's it's a complicated one, and I see why the UK has taken so long to approve, or to even consider assisted dying. So personally, where do I sit with it? Based on my personal beliefs and all, I believe in the preservation of life, like, as much as possible. I mean, I understand the situations where people get to that conclusion as well, because some some illnesses are insufferable. Honestly, it's understandable. It's sad. It's a dilemma, and I really hope, if it is being considered in Parliament, like I said, the discussion is opened to the public. Not necessarily, we should just know if they're talking about it, if they're seriously considering it. It should be made, this knowledge and information should be made available to people. And no, not just, oh, we put it on the Gov website, anybody could have come across it. Some people don't even know they have access to this information, so it's not accessible enough. Like, not everybody has access to the internet 24/7. In this UK, you'd be surprised, but there is such thing as lack of access to the internet. So it's very much existent in this UK. Don't even be fooled that we live in the Western world and that everybody has access to the internet, because some people can only go to places like the library or shops to have access to the internet for a couple of hours. So, like I said, it's one of those things. It's a discussion that should be taken up by the whole country before something like this can be even decided. And if there are people who travel outside of the UK, I believe, to go and go through with this procedure, especially places like New Zealand. There's been case studies like that. It's not one that you want to resort to every time, but there have been cases, I'm sure. I don't know the specific statistics, but it's something that a lot of people think about, especially the elderly, when their health is deteriorating. But like I said, preservation of life is my motto. So I'm on the fence about that one, guys. But you cannot decide for other people at the end of the day. If there's a genuine cry. And guys, another thing as well, that that ties into this discussion is that, you know, the end of life care that's provided for people in the UK, it's been said that it's actually not that great. A lot of places, hospices and stuff like that, have come out and said that the quality of care provided is actually not that great, and a lot of people don't end up having the end of care life, pleasant, environment that they thought that they would receive, because it's just underfunded and not paid that much attention to, unfortunately. And that is another argument as to why people believe, like, if they don't care about us at the end of life and this is the conditions they provide us in, then, a lot of people don't want to live through that, because it's not any better than being in their home or being in a hospital. So, that's something that the government should look into, funding better end of care life, because unfortunately some people live in the process where they have to plan the end of their life because they've always been, born with an incurable disease, or got one along the way, or just elderly age, aging population. But yeah. Hello guys on the chat. I'm just seeing the chat now. So if there's any comments, hi Susanna, how are you today, darling? But on a brighter note, guys, there's something that I saw on Netflix. I actually saw this last night, right? I literally went on Netflix, right? And I pressed something on the remote and lost the app, and then I had to go back on it. And as soon as I went back on it, in my suggestions was a series about what we refer to now as Angola, but at the time it was not called Angola. And she was a queen. At the time she served as a queen, and my goodness, she's incredible. Like, I saw the stories on TikTok and other social media platforms prior to actually knowing that was even a documentary / series kind of movie type thing being released on her by Jada Pinkett Smith. By the way, guys, Pinkett Smith. What is her middle name? Is it Pinkett? Such an interesting name that I never quite get right. But it's such an amazing series, and I just want to show you guys quickly a video just so you can get like a little glimpse of what I'm talking about, in case you have no idea what I'm talking about.
She was a warrior, she was a politician. She was very well versed in diplomatic relations as well. She was also the first female ruler to be recognized by European powers. She lived in the 16th century. She was the ruler of what is now modern-day Angola, at the time called Ndongo and Matamba. So a vast kingdom in that time period.
Don't underestimate her. I don't intend to. No one's brought her to heel yet.
This show is a docuseries, which means it's factually based, which means we're not glossing over anything. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all in there. And what we did with Njinga, because besides the fact that she was a politician, she was also a daughter, she was a sister, she was a mother. And so what helped is creating a whole human being. One of the things that at least was important to me, and that was important for the show, was for people to understand what it was like. This pressure, this outdoor pressure of watching your country be emptied out. What was that doing to the psychology? What choices were people being forced to make?
So, guys, I'm guessing that she played the role of Queen Nyinga. I believe that's the pronunciation of her name, Queen Nyinga. And incredible, incredible woman. I was hooked in from the first episode. Literally, this is the kind of African history I want to be seeing, guys. Like, I am so over the slave movies. No offense, I'm so over them. Like, we get it. It was awful, awful time, right? But there are some powerful, badass people that lived prior to that, and we need to know their stories. We need to be able to know where we've come from, because, like I said, this woman, she negotiated the freedom of the Angolians. She she tried to cooperate with the Portuguese, but I believe that she did attain some level of victory. I'm yet to finish the series. I just started it last night and I did fall asleep, so I need to go back an episode and tune in again. But honestly, incredible series. just watch it. Honestly, watch it, guys. You're gonna love it. This is Black Panther, but real life. So if you had any fun watching Black Panther, you're gonna love this, and it's gonna be even better because it's literally based on facts, based on true stories. And I genuinely believe this is the history that we need to be learning overall in Africa. Like, I share borderline with Angola, right, where I come from, but I had no idea of this woman's existence. Why? Why do I not know this history? You know? But anyway, what's done is done. That's in the past. We already know our history was taken and hidden from us, and it was tempered with. But we are getting our history back, and be part of the crew. Educate yourself so that you know who you are, you know where you come from, you know the kind of battles and wins your ancestors endured for us to be where we are today. It's just, who doesn't love a bit of history, guys? Like, I'm such a geek. I hope other people can love history the way I do, especially when the history is positive, it's uplifting, it's just empowering. And I'm all about empowerment. Like I said before, all good vibes over here, guys. But thank you so much, guys, for joining me in today's episode. I really, really delved into some hard topics, the very, very hard topics, guys, and we've not even scratched the surface, especially when it comes to the church and what we've seen them do, the way we've seen them tamper with our beliefs. And, you know, a sister dying, and it's such a hard topic. Like, there's no easy way of talking about something like that. So, you know, if anybody felt sensitive to this information that I shared today or spoke about today, honestly, reach out. You know, honestly, it was out of good mind as well, guys. So no offense to be taken here, because at the end of the day, these are the conversations that we need to have, the hard conversations that nobody wants to have, that needs to be had. And if I don't bring you this knowledge, if you don't see it for yourself, or, you know, somebody has to push for it, because the bare minimum is done for us to be made aware of certain things. Like, they're obliged to share the information with us, but they're not obliged to push the information and make sure that it reaches all the people that it needs to reach. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to speak the truth and honestly just always root for the best in every situation. So again, thank you guys for today's episode. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will catch you here next week.